Anoushka Shankar, thank you so much for joining me tonight on Your Call. Anoushka, you began learning the sitar from your father when you were a little girl. You made your debut at 13. Not many know what their future career is going to be at that age, and you're now in your mid-20s. What have those years been like, and how do you keep updating yourself or reinventing yourself?
Oh, big question. I think starting very young has benefits and pitfalls, both. And in my case, I think it was quite valuable and enriching to be able to start performing that young. And in a way, it took out a lot of the kind of process of learning to be a performer, and all that thing of learning to be on stage, learning to be comfortable on stage. All of that happened when I was very young, and was gotten over with by the time in my early 20s I wanted to perhaps go to the next level for me and start composing music and presenting my own music, because that's a new level of frightening in a way, to show your own ideas to people. And so in a way I was able to focus on that and already be very comfortable with an audience.
Do you remember your first time on stage?
It was one of the scariest moments of my life. Absolutely. No, when I was walking on stage, this was in 1995, and I was just behind the curtain in Siri Fort. I was about to walk on stage, and it was the first time in my life that I felt that feeling of your heartbeat literally beating against your chest. And I remember looking down. I got scared for a second because I didn't know what it was. And then I realized I was properly terrified.
Well, besides the music, I mean, they are in themselves two such different worlds. I mean, we know the world of Indian classical music is a hotbed of its own, and the world music is a very different, genre, very different thinking, very different people. How do you balance yourself between these two very different worlds?
Well, the second world, the world music world in itself, is not something that can really be defined as such, because by definition world music means everything. So for me it's the place where I am, I don't want to say freer, because within Indian classical music it's also incredibly free as an improviser, but it's taking out the boundaries of what classifies Indian classical music and just being free, whether that means modulating, whether it means stepping out of ragas. That's simplistic, but things like that, which in a classical show I wouldn't do when I'm composing or when I'm in that type of show. If it fits the context, I might be playing another style of music, for example, on the sitar. Then it's where I get to, I think, grow and learn outside of the Indian classical music, and then hopefully share that with people who enjoy it.
Well, that's really interesting. I mean, talking about those two different Anushkas and finding your own identity. Well, just on the show, I mean, we have lots of calls from viewers who want to speak to you, but I'd like to begin by going across to the people who know you best. We have your father in line with us. Panditji, we have your daughter Anoushka with us, our special guest of the week. I read, sir, in a recent interview that you said that you would like to be known as Anoushka Shankar's father one day. Do you think that day has come? Do you see it coming soon?
Well, I hope not, because I'm so proud of her, not because she's my daughter only, but she's definitely my best disciple, my best student.
Panditji, what do you find so interesting about Anushka's music?
She tries out little variations, new touch, new colors, which is very interesting.
As somebody who's really dominated Indian music for so many years, how do you feel today when you have two daughters, both Anoushka and Nora, who are really creating music legacies of their own in a way now?
Well, I'm very proud of them. That's all I can say.
Anushka, anything you'd like to say to your dad?
I love you.
Anushka, we just had your father online, and it's interesting what he said, where he says that you are where you are not because you're Anoushka Shankar, but because you are his best disciple. Is that something that people keep criticizing you about, or you hear a lot?
Yes, I wouldn't say it's a lot of just criticism, but one way or the other, I mean, it's a huge part of my story that I'm Pandit Ravi Shankar's daughter.
Tuba.com